A sense of relaxation after a long day's monotony or hard work can be a blessing. What better way to get in a different headspace than to curl up with some games that can settle you into a mood of relaxation and escapism? Cozy is a rather nebulous word. Its meaning can differ from person to person. My older brother loves Rocket League in his mind. I bet that's a pretty cozy place to be. Other people might find relaxation in dread. Weirdos. For me and for this video, my definition will be low stakes. Vibrant colors, non-hurried gameplay. Some of these games on the list might teeter off some of those, but you get the main concept. This will be an unordered list. I may have my favorites, but these can be tackled in any urgency you deem desired. With 7 different paths you could take, let's begin with a game not everyone is going to recognize. Shadows of Adam may have moments of poignant character insight, and it does divulge into some of those emotional moments, but at its core, it's a simple RPG with funny interactions. Funny and RPG generally don't go hand in hand. I can generally think of funny characters that give out a quip or two, but that's usually not the main focus, and it's usually reserved to like 1 or 2 characters. In Shadows of Adam, most of the character interactions and a lot of the NPC dialogue is gonna make you giggle. Or at least that's what it did for me, and that's a refreshing feeling. Laughter can bring coziness. It melts the tension of the day, and who doesn't want to feel that from time to time? Simple graphics paired with some soothing tracks from the OST wrapped in a short runtime, you can see where this is going. It's a good relaxing time. What makes it better is the combat being forgiving. One of the staples of the battle system, your AP, I believe it's action points if I'm remembering correctly, your points to use magic abilities and skills. Those AP points regain a percentage with each turn of combat. So no longer are you afraid of not using your best moves, and also thus the threshold of challenge is lessened because of it. There are moments where there are some tough fights and some memorable ones too, but you're not going to be ripping your hair out against a wall of a boss. Knowing that the challenge is going to be less and it's on a shorter runtime, I feel like people are going to be more apt to at least try this game. And I had quite a bit of fun with the battle system, connecting moves from various party members to get this feeling of synergy. And I will say, even though the end of the game does, not go into funny territory, it does have a very cool last dungeon that does a lot of heavy lifting for getting character motivation and some cool backstory to the world itself. Usually when I think of end dungeons, it's the grind to get towards the end to that final encounter. This one kind of builds up some story elements into it, which I really appreciated. For you completionists that want to soak up all you can in a cozy experience, you're looking at around 20 hours. For me, I beat this game in under 11 hours. That's a good amount of time to bundle up with this game, or maybe you take it out into the forest on a relaxing walk. You do you. The tone of a video game is generally established within the first half hour to hour. RPGs may be a little bit longer than that. Grandia at its core is an adventure. A grand adventure at that. I don't know if I've played a game that embodies the sense of adventure so much as this game does. To me, it strongly holds on to that childhood desire to go out into the world, and we made it there through our imaginations. That determination to fill our summer days with fun adventures that we couldn't actually go on ourselves, but we could imagine ourselves doing. A lot of the coziness of this game stems from our characters being younger. The world hasn't beaten them down yet, so they still have a little pep in their step. And our main character, Justin's desire to go on an adventure permeates his entire being. Becoming an adventurer is Justin's entire focus, and others get wrapped up in his optimistic pull. He really does have this childhood mindset, but this exceptional ability to make the impossible really seem possible. And man, the characters are just genuine. That oh so makes me feel cozy inside. The banter between them, how they interact, or how they react to NPC dialogue is so good. This is one of those games I almost always want to talk to every NPC just to see what the reactions are from Justin or Sue or Fina. But to make an RPG cozy, there's got to be some criteria. One of those is no random encounters, so you can explore this game with ease. This game does encourage exploring, where a very important and huge part of the game is finding these mana eggs strewn about the world in the dungeons that you go to. These mana eggs that you collect can then be taken to a shop and exchanged for magic spells. Super awesome spells, and of course those level up as well and turn into different spells. Exploring isn't just about finding these important mana eggs, it's also about just sitting with your party members in front of a fire. This happens at regular intervals, and it's really a cool way to, one, get a little bit of lore building, but just getting character insights. And sometimes you can talk to the characters, you just hover a cursor over them, like 3 or 4 times before, you've exhausted all these options. And I really feel like this adds to the experience of really driving home that, one, that coziness about being on an adventure, but just being actual characters. It's like you're peeking into those tents of old Final Fantasy games and seeing what they're talking about before everyone goes to bed. It's just a nice little thing to have. Plus, you got a compass to let you know where exits and entrances are. It's a bit wonky with how it portrays that, but you got the equipment for a cozy good time, so you won't get lost. For the most part. All those things are setting up to be a nice, easygoing experience for an RPG, but then you get to the battle system and it even gets better. The battle is turn-based, so you can relax and plan out your moves, but you can also interrupt and cancel enemy moves, even bosses. Oh, it's such a cool thing. If you get the timing right, you can really cheese some bosses, but I am so happy that they put this into the game system. I can't underestimate how freaking good this battle system is. Amazingly good that I'm actually kind of surprised there aren't more games that have taken note from this one. Positioning is a key ingredient in this. Your characters will move along the battlefield to get into position, or they'll be gathering up energy from afar to wreak havoc via a magical spell. There can be a sense of urgency when you see the enemy icons closing into the attack section of the turn order bar below, but I would say it's more exciting because you know who to target next. You can take all the time to plan out and retaliate how you choose. Some bosses early on can be a challenge. Learn the game systems at your leisure. Most save points have hints that are actually really useful that teach you how the game works, if you don't want to dive into the manual or find the manual online. Also, you recover all your health and MP at them. Talk about awesome. Knowing you have to use weapons to level them up to get new skills, and same goes for the magic. If you're one that goes to grinding for cozy experiences, you can have that here too. But for the rest of you, well, this is just going to be a nice, cozy RPG experience, and there's nothing quite like it. A cozy one. Play Grandia. I have a rocky relationship with this game, but Yoshi, he pulls me back in with that persistent tongue, and I've come out the other end megafied. No, a new perspective on this game. This is an easy, relaxing game, and honestly, that's not bad. Yoshi is a cozy character on top of being cute. Most of the games starring this Dino dude don't have timers, has a unique art style, and you're going to be plodding along from level to level, collecting flowers, stars, and throwing eggs. I twisted my perception and found a game I actually enjoy. It's crazy what mood does to you, or time when you're playing the game. When you know that this game is going to be a relaxing, easy, cozy experience, that can make all the difference. Now, I say I did enjoy it, minus this one tune. That song would stick in my head, and I could not cleanse it from my body for the longest time. Suffer with me. This game has a handful of standout levels where the creativity makes you smirk, or at least I did. A simple example of this is this magnet mouse level, which is pretty clever, where you spook mice with a blow-up cat. It's just a nice touch. And there's examples of that all throughout this game. To add to this relaxing, somewhat odd feel, they have this stop-motion animation for bosses, which is super clever in my eye. And knowing that this whole world is crafted, cardboard and sticking stuff on to set the mood, you can switch Yoshi's colors, of course, and you can make them wear different outfits made out of cardboard. I just think this is kind of a fun little side thing you can do while playing. If you've played a Yoshi game before, for the most part, it follows all those formulas to a T. There's a good endgame grind if you're going for completion, there's hidden secrets strewn about the levels, and you're not rushed to find them. Unless in that particular moment it demands it, but overall, there's no rush to get to the end of the stage. There's some great perspective work with Yoshi going into the background, and everything being cardboard just brings a certain flavor to this game that kind of is enhanced by that changing perspective. And being able to actually explore the levels from different perspectives is kind of cool. And I didn't get bored of that all throughout the experience. And Yoshi games are known to change up their art style from iteration to iteration, which also leads to a more cozy experience for myself, because it feels like I've been here before. Even though this was a new experience at the time of me playing it, it still had that Yoshi feel, that cozy feel. There's a decent amount of things to actually like here, and I didn't see that before. It's a game you chip at from time to time when you're in that right mindset. A perfect pick up and play a few levels, or a couple handfuls if the mood really strikes you. Plus, it's Yoshi. I'd spend an evening or two in cozy wonderland with that Dino. I have quite a few times, and generally I haven't regretted my time with the Yosh. That song, though. There's a lot of games on the Nintendo Switch to find, and there are a lot of YouTube channels out there. So I do appreciate you taking the time to be here. I hope you're in some cozy environment, or at least you're thinking about transporting yourself to one with a new game on this list. Perhaps you have your own cozy game you would want to shout out down below for a future video. No expectations, we're here, cozy, so let's continue with that. Dino to Rider, Rider to Possessor. Like with Yoshi, Super Mario Odyssey brings a familiarity to me. 3D Marios bring a comfort, even with the spikes of difficulty from certain collectibles, but the overall experience calms me in a way sometimes I can't even describe. But the most important part about Odyssey for me was what it forced me to do. Smile. I really didn't have a choice, I was just smiling in general. I found myself smiling through most of this game. Its charm, its callbacks to one of my favorite games of all time, Super Mario 64, and the vibrant color palette, especially that Luncheon Kingdom or the seaside one. I wanted to squat down on the sand and soak it all in. Kind of like I did when I was a kid and watched Mario talk in his sleep in front of a mirror. I had that same feeling welling up in me.
Mamma mia.
Let's ignore the opening level just for a minute, which is a bit of a non-cozy vibe to it, We get right into bright vibrancy, grass and dinos and colorful minions for us to stomp. This is what I'm talking about, just that color pop and everything that comes along with it. And knowing now that when I grab a moon, this game stars, that you're not booted out of the level. That brings another sense of carefreeness to an already fun and explore style of game. The stakes are low and the fun is high. But stomp a random bright light on the ground and you've got one piece to the puzzle to get you to the next level. Also, Cappy updating you on the next level while your cap ship flies to the next place gives you a breather. Talk about cozy. Some say there are too many moons, too much open space, it's not as good as the previous entries, or it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm somewhere in that middle ground, but you should make your own opinion on all of that. Like all Mario games, it's targeted as a kid's game, but there are those timed moons to acquire, more difficult platforming to endure, but you can generally make it to the end without too much fuss. And isn't that what you're looking for in a cozy experience? Most likely. Mario might not be cozy to everyone. Flipping around doing acrobatics and racing Koopas doesn't look calm and stress-free from the outside. But in your hands, with the sun shining and your feet kicked up, or maybe the darkness of night blanketing the outside world behind your windows, I think you can hone in on what makes a child gravitate towards these games. Because Mario has that power. Because Mario, to me, is kind of synonymous with my childhood, and thankfully my childhood was rather cozy. That song immediately gives me a sense of calm. I love it. Wandering off and exploring these lands to create the very first Pokedex sounds like a state of mind I could get myself into. Pokemon varied up the formula with Pokemon Legends Arceus, or should I say expanded at least on another component from the wildly popular Pokemon Go, and it gives you a checklist of chores to do. But it pertains to capturing and battling Pokemon. A little combo effect for us. Seeing your research points go up, accompanied by your Pokemon levels going up, and you get into a rhythm that's satisfying to its core. Even if it becomes a checklist, sometimes slowly getting through the chores that we need to get done can have that satisfying feeling, and this game also does that. Simply at its core, numbers going up, progress bars getting further across the screen, it's an innate pleasure. RPGs, I want the higher number. Now, sometimes that can lead to a hurried up nature of wanting to get stronger as fast as possible, but you can take your time and explore. Because at the end of the day, this is Pokemon. For me, it's about seeing the creatures and sneaking around trying to capture them, and of course making sure the cute ones don't evolve. Or at least I've got to have a backup. Focusing more on capturing and sneaking around brings down the pace even further than the predecessors, and you do start to feel like that kid tasked with finding Pokemon and taking their time. It helps that you get Pokemon to help you traverse this area if you don't like walking everywhere. I do find the beginning of the game where I had to walk set the mood, and sometimes even late game I wouldn't be rushing back to camp because I just wanted to take my time walking through the world. I was also far too busy foraging for materials to make Pokeballs, getting lost in the grass to see if I can catch one more before I take the return trip back to camp. That's me. And knowing there's a farm back at town, a ranch to see your Pokemon, and even a place to take pictures, you can feel that sense of urgency start to evaporate. For me, that's enough. Well, actually for me, it was just the focus of switching to a more capture focus than battling, even if the battling is pretty cool here, with its minimal UI, and new to me, fast and heavy attacks that vary things up. It's not always the case, but cozy and Pokemon, they went hand in hand. Now with this one, a short hike, you can finish this one in about an hour. Or you can play a crap ton of beach stickball and have a blast. Exploration is the name of this game. Also, meeting anthropomorphic animals on this cozy island is what kept me here. I have finished this game more than once, mainly because of its short runtime, but also I just like the mood that it puts me in. The retro pixelated art style for characters on top of the watercolored inspired environment, it's just a vibe. There's a bit of ugliness, unpolished look to it that I surprisingly like. It's usually not my jam. Actually, I play a lot of old school JRPGs, and those always don't hold up on the character designs. Some of those haven't aged quite well. Heck, I love the N64, so maybe I do like this. A simple task of reaching the top of the mountain is your goal, and you let the wind take you on how you're going to get there, and with what urgency. Maybe you'll get distracted by collecting hats or seashells. Maybe you just want to see what's off the coast of this island. Or maybe you want more gold feathers to increase your glide. No enemies to hurt you, no objective outside the simple climb a mountain. This is leisure, cozy to its core. Now, I can't say for everybody, but summer vibes and giant robot building, how can that not bring a sense of cozy to your being? You're high school kids in a visual novel, with some choice built in to talking to people on Twippo and responding to get you to different paths that are part of this robot club tasked with finishing a project that's been in works for years. Building a giant robot. No, like an actual big one. It's pretty cool. This concept of being on a not-so-popular island in Japan with a focus on robotics and this dwindling town that used to have these big gatherings for rocket launches. That just whole thing enraptured me. Now, a big part of that also comes down to Akiho is one of the most jubilant characters I've ever... she is so good. She's unbelievably nerdy, like throwing in around catchphrases from her favorite robot anime, and well, her mood is just infectious throughout the story. And I think what comes down to it, comfort and cozy, does coincide with a routine. And this game does have that day-to-day cycle. Yes, there's sometimes time jumps in there. You're not going specifically one day to the next all the time. Day-to-day of just hanging out in a club without much care, even with the looming event of graduation, that brings a sense of calm to the experience. Not to mention that character is trying to get you more invested. It brought me a sense of continuous comfort. Because of the locations, I started to learn where they are on the map. I started to understand what my main character was trying to get across, and it became a comfort. There's quite a few big mysteries that crop up and unfold, and it gets pretty wild towards the end. But most of the game, or at least the front half of the game, is dealing with trying to build this big robot and navigating those late teenage years. It won't be for everyone. Visual novels already diluting those numbers, and some anime trope characters can make this hard to swallow for some. I was in the mood for the slice of life type of game, and this fits the bill. This is tied into the Science Adventure series as a whole, but honestly I don't think it's required to play those other games like some people say on the internet. The main thing being Chaos Head being mandatory, or else you'll be confused towards the end of this game. I don't really vibe with that line of thinking. But it does enhance the experience, but that's a lot of game time to rack up before diving into this one. And most of those aren't cozy. They do have cozy elements though, but Chaos Child? Man, oh, that one goes places. 7 cozy games to bide your time to another cozy game that comes along. I don't always gravitate toward these type of games, but sometimes you need to throw them in the mix. Hope you found one you'd like to try, or found one that you remembered you liked, so you can pass on the coziness to another unsuspecting gamer. Because we always need new things to play, don't we? Spread the cozy. Save someone some time. Until then.